Trade tensions between the United States and Canada have reached unprecedented levels in recent days, with both nations engaging in a series of retaliatory measures that have had widespread economic and political repercussions. The situation escalated following U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to increase tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel imports to 25%, prompting Ontario Premier Doug Ford to impose a 25% electricity surcharge on exports to the U.S. in retaliation. This surcharge directly impacted U.S. states such as Minnesota, Michigan, and New York, raising energy costs significantly and threatening to increase household power bills by approximately $100 per month, while costing each affected state around $400,000 daily. The fallout from these measures sent shockwaves through financial markets. In response to Ontario's electricity surcharge, President Trump announced plans to double tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum imports, raising them from 25% to 50%. The announcement caused a sharp drop in the stock market, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average falling nearly 600 points before closing down 478.23 points. This marked a continued decline following a 900-point drop the previous day, while the S&P 500 decreased by 0.7%, and the Nasdaq Composite saw a slight decline of 0.2%. Investors grew increasingly anxious over the potential for a prolonged trade war, with some fearing a broader economic downturn as tensions mounted between the two neighboring countries. Amid the growing uncertainty, Premier Ford held discussions with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, which were described as productive. These talks led Ford to temporarily suspend the electricity surcharge, signaling a willingness to de-escalate the situation and return to the negotiating table. In response, President Trump reversed his earlier decision to double tariffs, opting instead to maintain them at the original 25% level. This series of events underscored the fragile nature of the U.S.-Canada trade relationship and demonstrated how provincial actions can have profound impacts on international trade policy. The 25% U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum imports officially came into effect, not only impacting Canada, but also other nations. In a direct response, Canada imposed its own 25% tariffs on nearly $30 billion worth of U.S. imports, targeting products such as steel, aluminum, computers, sports equipment, and cast iron goods. These countermeasures highlighted Canada's firm stance against U.S. economic aggression, as well as its determination to defend its industries and national interests. Amid these developments, Canada's incoming Prime Minister Mark Carney expressed a readiness to engage in dialogue with President Trump. Carney emphasized that any negotiations must uphold Canada's sovereignty and work towards mutually beneficial trade solutions. He stated, "I am prepared to meet with President Trump, provided that our national sovereignty is fully respected and that we work towards mutually beneficial trade solutions." Carney further underscored the importance of renewing the economic and security partnership between Canada and the United States, expressing hope that constructive dialogue could overcome current challenges and strengthen their long-standing alliance. However, the trade dispute took an unexpected turn when President Trump suggested that Canada should become the 51st state of the United States. Trump argued that such a move would eliminate all tariffs and trade barriers between the two nations. Canadian officials swiftly and firmly rejected this notion, with outgoing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau responding emphatically, "There isn't a snowball's chance in hell that Canada would become a part of the United States." Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre echoed these sentiments, asserting, "Canada will never be the 51st state. We will be a strong, independent, sovereign country." Polls indicated that 90% of Canadians opposed the idea, sparking a surge in Canadian nationalism as citizens rallied around symbols of sovereignty and national pride. In addition to federal actions, Canadian provinces began implementing their own measures to counter U.S. tariffs. British Columbia Premier David Eby proposed a tax on American thermal coal exported through BC ports, aiming to retaliate against U.S. tariffs while addressing long-standing environmental concerns. Environmental advocacy groups like Dogwood BC had been pushing for such measures for years, citing health and environmental risks associated with coal transport. The Roberts Bank Superport in Delta, BC, home to West Shore Terminals, North America's busiest coal export terminal, plays a crucial role in moving U.S. coal to Asian markets. In 2023, the Port of Vancouver handled around 17.6 million metric tons of thermal coal, two-thirds of which originated from the U.S., mainly from Montana and Wyoming's Powder River Basin. Blocking American coal exports through BC ports would significantly impact U.S. coal producers, leading to higher transportation costs, reduced export volumes, and potential mine closures in coal-dependent regions. Other provinces adopted similarly bold strategies. Ontario directed the Liquor Control Board of Ontario to stop selling American alcohol, further intensifying economic pushback. Quebec ordered a review of all government procurement contracts involving U.S. suppliers, aiming to favor domestic or non-U.S. partners. Alberta, initially hesitant, eventually endorsed strategic tariffs on American goods that could be sourced from other markets, signaling a shift towards reducing reliance on U.S. imports. British Columbia targeted Republican-led U.S. states by halting liquor purchases from those regions. Nova Scotia doubled highway tolls for U.S. vehicles while ceasing sales of American liquor. Manitoba, Prince Edward Island, and Yukon also imposed bans on American alcohol imports, with Yukon considering additional tolls on U.S. vehicles passing through the territory. The economic impacts of these escalating tariffs have been profound. In 2024, bilateral trade between Canada and the U.S. amounted to about $773 billion, covering a vast range of goods and services. Canada's retaliatory tariffs, totaling approximately $2.7 billion USD, targeted sectors like consumer electronics, sports equipment, and cast iron products. The U.S. automotive industry, heavily reliant on Canadian steel and aluminum, faced rising costs that impacted vehicle manufacturing. For example, the production cost of the Ford F-150, North America's best-selling vehicle, could increase by about $400 per unit due to higher aluminum prices. These costs might be passed down to consumers through higher prices or lead automakers to cut production expenses elsewhere. Beyond automobiles, industries like electronics and sports equipment have also been affected. Computers, a major trade product, now face higher import duties, pushing up retail prices. Sporting goods, including hockey sticks and bicycles, saw similar price hikes as American retailers absorbed increased acquisition costs. Additionally, blocking American coal exports through BC would create logistical nightmares for U.S. coal producers, limiting access to Asian markets and potentially causing job losses in coal-dependent states. Overall, these tariff measures have had far-reaching consequences for both economies. The Canadian government's countermeasures disrupted supply chains, increased business costs, and heightened consumer prices. U.S. exporters found themselves at a disadvantage in the Canadian market, with some companies experiencing reduced sales and market share. These tensions have fueled broader economic uncertainties, contributing to market volatility and raising fears of economic slowdowns and inflation. As both nations grapple with the fallout, it remains to be seen whether cooler heads will prevail and lead to constructive negotiations that can rebuild trust and cooperation between these long-time trading partners.